Welcome to this explainer. We're diving straight into the breaking details of a truly heartbreaking event, the tragic boat capsize off the coast of Vietnam. When international news breaks involving a sudden loss of life at a popular travel destination, it can be incredibly chaotic trying to sort through those initial reports. So we're going to rely entirely on the confirmed data to figure out exactly what happened, where it happened, and how authorities are responding. Let's get right into it.
We have to start with the most sobering fact of this explainer: 15. Authorities have officially confirmed that 15 Indian tourists tragically lost their lives in this incident. It's a really heavy number, and it completely grounds our understanding of this event. This wasn't just some minor maritime accident. It was a mass casualty event involving international travelers who were just out on vacation. Keeping this human toll front and center is absolutely essential as we unpack the timeline and figure out what went wrong.
To understand exactly where this all went down, we first need to look at Phu Quoc. As Vietnam's largest island, tucked right there in the Gulf of Thailand, it's deeply renowned as a highly popular beach destination. If you follow Southeast Asian travel at all, you know this is a massive tourist hub. It draws millions of domestic and international tourists every single year, all looking for those pristine, crystal-clear waters. But here's the thing, the specific site of the tragedy wasn't actually on the main island itself. The accident happened near a smaller spot called Han Mai Root Nguai Island, located about 10 kilometers or roughly 6 miles south of Phu Quoc. This specific area is famous for its white sand beaches, making it a prime location for daily speedboat tours. These tours were out on the water, exploring the exact idyllic environments that draw so many people to the region in the first place. Now, what makes this geography absolutely critical is the distance, 400 meters. According to state media, citing local authorities, the vessel capsized just 400 meters off the shoreline of that smaller island. To put that into perspective, that's only about 1,310 feet. It's a harrowing detail because it highlights how incredibly close to safety the boat was when disaster struck. This wasn't deep out in the open ocean. It happened in coastal waters, practically within sight of the beach. Let's break down exactly who was on that vessel. There were 36 individuals aboard the speedboat when it went down. The vast majority were 32 Indian tourists, and they were accompanied by 4 crew members operating the boat. Knowing this manifest really helps you grasp the sheer scale of the emergency response that was suddenly needed just a few hundred meters off the coast. Looking at the numbers following the capsize, the human toll is just stark. Following a massive rescue effort, teams managed to pull 21 survivors from the water, getting them straight to nearby hospitals for treatment. But tragically, as we mentioned right at the start, 15 people did not survive. Authorities have confirmed that all 15 victims have been recovered from the water, which really puts the devastating reality of the situation into perspective. So how did the rescue actually unfold? Well, it was an immediate multi-agency effort, but what's really striking is that the very first responders, they were actually nearby civilian boats. Eyewitnesses said these civilian vessels saw what was happening and rushed right to the scene to start pulling passengers from the water. Shortly after, you saw a massive official mobilization. Border guards, the Vietnam Navy, and the Coast Guard all jumped into this desperate operation. However, the operation hit a terrifying roadblock almost immediately. Rescue efforts were severely hampered because the vessel had completely overturned. When a speedboat flips like that, it essentially creates a deadly trap. Reports indicate that several passengers actually became trapped inside the overturned wreckage. So it started as a rapid surface rescue, suddenly turned into a highly complex, highly dangerous extraction. And that really explains why, despite the quick response from so many boats, the death toll was so incredibly high. Which brings us to the big question, right? What causes a tourist speedboat to suddenly flip over that close to shore? Well, preliminary assessments from local officials are pointing directly at strong winds and high waves. Nguyen Tien Hai, a provincial official of the ruling Communist Party, stated that these sudden weather shifts were the likely culprit. It highlights a terrifying reality of maritime tourism. The weather in the ocean can shift rapidly, turning those crystal-clear waters into a deadly environment in a matter of moments. Moving over to the diplomatic aftermath, international representatives jumped into action immediately. The Indian embassy in Vietnam is actively monitoring everything and closely coordinating with local authorities. And to help out desperate families searching for information about their loved ones, the embassy took the step of publicly releasing the names of all 32 Indian passengers on X. It's a grim but totally necessary step in managing an international crisis of this scale. To provide round-the-clock assistance and manage the massive flow of information, the Indian government rapidly set up a two-pronged diplomatic response network. They didn't just rely on one office. They established dedicated control rooms at both the Consulate General in Ho Chi Minh City in the south and at the embassy in Hanoi in the north. This ensures they have comprehensive coverage to coordinate with Vietnamese medical and rescue teams across the entire country.
Now, this is absolutely crucial for anyone following this explainer who might be directly affected or looking for information about loved ones. You need to use verified channels. Please take note of these official consular helpline numbers provided straight from the Indian Embassy. There are 3 dedicated lines for the Ho Chi Minh City Control Room and 1 for Hanoi. When a tragedy like this strikes, misinformation spreads like wildfire, so anchoring yourself to these official, direct communication lines is absolutely vital.
This whole incident leaves us with a really pressing question. As global tourism continues to expand into these stunning but totally unpredictable waters, how must international maritime safety standards evolve? I mean, an accident 400 meters from shore shouldn't result in 15 lost lives. What needs to change to prevent such rapid and devastating tragedies from happening again? Thank you so much for joining us for this explainer. We hope this breakdown brought some clarity to this breaking news event, and we ask that you please keep the affected families in your thoughts today.